I'm trying to go through a list of like my emails to check the name of the apartment. I can't really find so, but well, we'll talk about that later. Let's face the main business for the day. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Bolanle Solomon Adewusi, and I'm the founder and lead coach at the Scholarship Wiz. So the Scholarship Wiz is a coaching agency for those that already know, that follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. It's a scholarship coaching agency where we actually coach people and individuals who actually require funding or scholarship for their postgraduate studies abroad. So today I have here with me Gretchen Clearwater, and I'm gonna say thank you so much everyone for joining, and I really appreciate you being here. So Gretchen is going to talk to us today about ways to make your application stand out for possible funding. So let me introduce Gretchen briefly. Gretchen Clearwater from United States of America. She's 3 years into retirement now. And prior to this, she served as the advisor and recruitment officer for the biology department at Indiana University, United States for 24 years. Prior to that position, she served as a placement officer for a program called the Malaysia Cooperative Program, where they used to place students from Malaysian universities into appropriate universities in the United States based on their areas of discipline. So that's like a short bio of Gretchen. So we're going to hear from herself. And yesterday, Gretchen shared with me a story of her actually lived in Nigeria years back. She lived in Nigeria at a very young age for 10 years. So if you're Nigerian, yeah, Gretchen knows about Nigeria. Like years ago, she was here. She lived there for 10 years. And if she didn't mention it to me, I thought I wouldn't have had a clue, because I just thought she's been in Bloomington, Indiana all her life, because that's where she worked for 24 years. So Gretchen, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, great. So I would like let's start with the Nigeria part a bit so that we'll go into the main question. So I'd like to know what brought you to Nigeria when you came to Nigeria at that young age.
Well, my parents were missionaries, and we lived in Ogoja and
wow, Cross River State,
and then in the south part, Obodidum, in the south part.
Wow, I think that's Cross River State. Wow, that's nice.
But they were Lutherans, and I'm no longer with the church. But it was. Anyway, that's how I got there, and I came to love the country a lot. So.
Oh, really? Wow. Mm-hmm. So have you been back to Nigeria since then?
I have not been back. I almost went back when I was 18. I tried to get back, but when I got stuck in Senegal and I couldn't get permission to come back. So I tried very hard to come back.
Wow.
But haven't yet.
Yeah, hopefully you come back someday. Very soon.
I have not done it yet. I have not done it yet. I use the word yet,
Okay. Okay. So you said something about how that sparked your interest in the recruitment of international students as an adult and the way you have lived your life. So would you talk about your experience in Nigeria that actually made you to decide to help international students?
Well, because I was there for 10 years, I recognized, I know that there's a whole world out there, and and I think we all have to try and become smaller and smaller and smaller, and bring more people back and forth. I think we just have to share this earth.
Wow.
And the resources that we have.
Wow, I love that. That's really good of you. That's wonderful.
Well, okay, it's true, and I think we make each other better. True. When we cross across oceans, we make each other better.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. And then the experience and the exposure, because when you come from America to Nigeria, you get to know that other things exist. And then when you go from Nigeria or West Africa to America, you realize that, okay, there's a new world out there. So yeah, that's very important. I actually agree with you. So yeah, let's go into the main subject of the day, which is talking about admissions and funding. So what does the admission committee, like what do they actually look out for in any application for admission into a graduate program or course of study? What are the things they actually look out for?
Well, I was in the sciences, so I'm more familiar with the sciences than I am other fields.
Okay.
But they look for they look on your transcripts to see your grades.
Oh.
So I think grades really matter. So you know, I think that is one of the most important things.
Okay.
The admissions looks for really strong statements of purpose. So you have to really know what you're doing and why you're wanting to study someplace.
Yeah.
And it really helps if you study the university that you're thinking about to find out what they do, so that when in your statement of purpose, you can say, well, I see that Indiana University has really good microbiology program.
Okay.
And, you know, and you don't necessarily have to have research background for example, for the sciences, but you have to explain why you're wanting to go and do research, you know, so you have to really tailor your statement of purpose for that committee. Getting back to the transcripts, one of the most difficult things international students have sometimes is getting transcripts.
Yeah, true.
It's very, very, very hard to do it. And so a lot of programs won't even look at you without a transcript.
True.
So you have to, when you're preparing your applications, get that settled pretty quickly and fast. You can, you know, find out how best you can get transcripts sent to the United States. And they're expensive. Sometimes you have to be able to say, well, I can't afford the transcripts, and you have to explain that. I think another thing are the letters of recommendation. I think those are actually very important, because if you find people who will recommend you, it's best to find professors or that you've worked with who can testify for your grade, you know, just to say, oh, he got an A in my class, you know, is not enough. You have to say, well, so you have to get to know whoever is recommending you and ask them if they will give you a good recommendation. And if they won't, don't ask them.
Definitely.
You know, don't ask them. So I think that's part of it. I think funding is a really big issue. We in the sciences, we always assumed that nobody had enough money to come to the United States. So you should know that most programs in the sciences have funding to pay for international students. But the caveat is that they don't have a lot of money to pay for a lot of international students. So the competition becomes very
really competitive.
You know, very, very tight. Because if you can only admit 2 or 3 or 4 international students, then you can see that you're competing with hundreds of other applicants. So, you know, good grades really matter, and good statement of purpose. The other thing is language. In Nigeria, it's not as much of an issue because everybody speaks English, plus their own language. But for other countries, you know, you have to be able to demonstrate a really strong ability to speak English, because so much of the funding is based on teaching.
True.
You're going to be teaching a lot to pay for your schooling. You know, you don't come, you don't just get money, you have to work for that.
Wow. So it's like a paid academic employment, kind of.
Yes, yes, you'll be teaching undergraduate students, and that's true, I think, for most universities.
Yeah, true. So I agree with that.
Okay. I think that's, and the other thing that I would like to leave with you or say is that I want you to know that universities are excited that you're applying to their programs, and they're happy. They want to admit people from other countries. They want to do that. So it's not like you're a burden, you know. We want you. We want to welcome you. You know, we want universities are wanting to welcome you. You know, that's it's the truth. I think it's the truth, and I think everybody needs to know that they're wanted. You know, and that's important.
Yeah, that's very important. Thank you so much for that. Actually, I agree with the last one, because most people always feel, oh, I think going there, they don't even want us. So that's why the application process is so long and all. But I actually agree with you, because I've been there and I actually saw everything. And yes, they are always happy to have international students around. Like my own experience when I was coming to Bloomington, like everybody was so eager to meet me. Oh, who is this girl coming? Emails here and there. I heard you're coming. Even other students knew I was coming. I was shocked, like, wow. So
Right.
actually, I agree with that. I totally agree with that. So thank you so much for sharing those important points about strong statement of purpose. I'm always of the opinion. I know grades, and we're still coming back to questions, because I actually agree with, yeah, grades, yes, and I have a question on grades. That will be at the end of this. And statement of purpose, which is like your essay. And in America, they are really keen on statement of purpose than any other type of essay. So it depends on the country. Like some countries, they actually prefer the research proposal, like submit the research proposal instead, rather than a statement of purpose. But I think for America, it's more of a statement of purpose. Why are you coming? What are you coming to do? Why are we university? So those things are very important in your statement of purpose. But most people don't know that. They just think it's just for you to write a statement of who you are, and that's it. No, it's beyond that. What are you bringing to the table? And what do you plan to change? So all those things are very important when it comes to essays. So let's just move. I have questions, but that will be, so participants, please try as much as possible to note down your questions, so that after this session, Gretchen can actually answer some of the questions. So the other question is, so what do they look out for when it comes to funding, especially the automatic ones? You know, there are some applications. I know about the graduate assistantship in America where you have to teach, but there are some funding that actually come with the admission. They tell you that if you apply right away, if you apply before the deadline, you're going to be considered for maybe a particular kind of scholarship, maybe an alumni scholarship or a kind of funding. So I just want to know, like, what do they look out for when it comes to those kind of funding?
Funding for international students on scholarships is a little bit hard because a lot of the funding comes from the federal government, and the rule is that money has to go to American students because it's a federally funded thing. So the funding will often come when your professor has grants. You know, they apply for a grant and they get money, and then that's how you, the international student, are supported on the professor's grants.
Yeah.
So you want to look at professors and how they are funded. So if you see that they have a lot of funding, it's likely that you'll get funded as well, right? So it's not something that you even apply for. It's just given to you based on the lab that you join, right?
So I agree, because I experienced that coming to Indiana. I joined the Data to Insight Center. So definitely, I think they had lots of funding there, and there were lots of other students. It wasn't just me. So I think I agree with the lab, the research team you joined. That's very important.
Yep.
So, I'm going to ask this question. What about master's students? because now I'm aware of PhD students in America getting funding from professors. So what about students that are coming for master's degree? Do they have the opportunity as well?
They do. I think that's for our university, we were very, very focused on PhDs.
Okay.
Mainly because PhDs labs and professors have more money, and you want somebody to come to the United States and spend some time doing research, right? And if you're coming for a master's, you're there for a short time. So I think it's very important, if all you want is a master's degree, is to go to universities that offer a lot of master's degrees.
Master's degree as well.
Do that research, because I know in the sciences, we hardly ever admit somebody into a master's program. Very, very rare. But other universities around the country do, plenty of them. And it also depends on the field, so some disciplines will admit more masters, but usually for graduate school, it's PhD. It's way more.
Way more PhD. Though, yeah, I know of other schools because I have some friends that actually went to some other universities. I think one is in Illinois, and he got funded for his master's degree as a graduate assistant. So I'm sure other universities, maybe not
Yes.
just Indiana.
No, and that's the thing, is don't just look at Indiana, because it's a very big country.
Yeah,
and you can tell, you can look at their websites and see how they advertise their PhD programs versus how they advertise their masters. And I think master's programs are great because it's quick. You come in and you get a degree and you're done in 2 years or 3. I like master's programs a lot, and some schools offer them a lot more than Indiana University does.
Indiana University. Okay. Thank you for that. So, okay. So, what's your take on standardized test scores like the GRE, the Graduate Record Examination, the Test of English? Are those important when it comes to funding as well?
They used to be. The GRE exam used to be the one thing that got you into university. And I have long felt that the GRE examination was extremely unfair.
Me too.
So finally, I've learned after I retired that Indiana University no longer requires the GRE.
Wow.
Ah,
that's great. Wow, that's really great.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And so I think I think sometimes people used to say, go ahead and take the GRE, and if you do well, that supplements your application, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But now the GRE is no longer required. And that is not necessarily true of all universities, but it is and I think it's for many universities. And I don't know if it's true for all disciplines, but I suspect so. I can never pronounce it.
IELTS, yeah, IELTS. I know. I just say
the TOEFL exam. If your native language is not English, you have to take it to get in, and you should get a very high score on it. Because if it's low, they will not even look at your application.
So do you think someone from an English speaking country like Nigeria or maybe Ghana, where they actually speak English, and other parts of the world where they're actually English speaking countries, can they get a waiver? I actually got a waiver, but it was based on so many things. But generally, do you think they get waivers?
Well, they were, you do get it. You don't have to take it if you come from an English-speaking country like Ghana or Nigeria.
Yeah, but it was part of the requirement then. I had to send a separate email to get a waiver.
Yeah. So the way they work with that is that if you have a high enough score, or you come from a country where English is spoken, like in Ghana or Nigeria, then comes the interview. You have to do an interview, and that's very important because that's where they determine whether first you can speak clearly, whether you
I'll let
can
you
speak
know.
English well, so once you get past the hurdle of getting accepted for an interview, then that's where they determine whether whether you would be a good teacher, right?
I know, right?
No?
Yes, I actually did an interview then, so yes, I can relate. And then on the interview board was an English, someone from the English test department or so, and I was told
Yes.
she would be checking my English. So yes, I think
Yes.
I agree with
And
that.
and so that they have, and in addition, at the interview, that you're also asked about your, your undergraduate studies and your interests, and if you're, what kind of research you want to do, or what kind of thing you want to do, whether it's like you, computer science or whatever. They want to see, and it's pretty rigorous. There's 4 or 5 people that sometimes sit on that interview.
Yeah, I think I had about 6 people.
Yeah, it's rigorous.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, great. Thank you for that. Okay, so I know that usually the main source of funding for international students in America is actually graduate assistantship. So you come in as a graduate assistant or research assistant. So, but do you know of other funding sources, like other sources of funding for international students?
At our university, there were very few,
Okay.
very, very few. We had, the funding came from the departments, and it was not anything that anybody could apply for. I don't, but I'm sorry to say I don't know about other disciplines other than biology.
That's fine. That's okay.
But there literally was nothing that an international student could apply for that would pay for their education. But once you're admitted into a program, your tuition is paid for, your housing is paid for because you get a stipend,
Amount, yeah.
So you don't have, and the department gives that to you for 5 years, right?
Okay.
So once you're in, the funding becomes less of an issue.
Sure.
In this, and I say that for the sciences, right?
Okay, because someone actually wants to know what happens in the business school, but I think Gretchen says she knows more about sciences than for business school. But I don't know, maybe if you have anything to say about that.
I do know that the business school is here at Indiana University is very, very competitive. And I would guess that they probably go through a similar process with the interview process and the transcripts and the TOEFL and things like that. I would imagine it's the same, but I know it's a very competitive program.
Yeah, true. Okay, thank you so much, Gretchen, for that. So let's move on to the next question. So do you think the university permit partial funding? So in a situation where you already have a partial funding, because I'm aware some universities, they'll tell you, because you already have partial funding, if you come to our institution, you'll not be able to have access to other funding. Like they don't actually allow combination of funds from other sources. So what's your take on that?
About permanent, about
like a partial, like when you don't get the full scholarship, but just get like a partial tuition paid or a partial scholarship, maybe from another source, not from the university. Do they allow that?
Yes, they. So we had some students who did have scholarships that they had gotten from their home countries.
Okay.
And so we worked very hard with them. And so we would say, okay, we'll let your scholarship pay for your housing and stuff, and we'll provide you with tuition. Um,
Oh, okay.
so when you come in with some other funding, they're very, very eager to work with you.
With you.
Um,
Okay.
so does help if you're going into a discipline where you don't have a lot of money from the university itself. If you have your own funding, it helps a lot.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Okay, so participants, if you have any question, you can drop them under the chat. So after the session, I'll read out your questions. So please drop your questions. Okay. So do you have any advice for prospective students who actually plan to take like the GRE and the other exams? Do you have any advice for them?
Study for it.
I
Study
know.
hard for it. Study hard for it. They have, I mean, it helps. It always helps if you study for those exams because they're not easy.
I know, but the good news now is that they're already getting scrapped, kind of. So I'm sure lots of international students will be happy to hear that, because it's been like a major pullback for so many people. So many people want to come to United States, but because of that exam, they just were like, no, I just want to go to another country. I don't want to
True.
write any exam. No. So
Right.
after all you've been through in your the graduate writing exams, you now graduate again to write exams to get into another program. So
But
it's like, yeah.
but make sure when they apply to the program to find out whether they have to take it or not. So maybe, I think it's good to kind of think 2 or 3 years ahead of yourself, right? You can think, oh, I'm in an undergraduate program now, but I think I would like to go into graduate studies, and then find out what you need so you can plan ahead.
Okay.
Because if they do require the GRE, then I think just preparing for it is helpful.
Okay. Yeah,
And again, the TOEFL exam, if your language is other than English, because I tell you, I saw so many really good applications not even be looked at because the TOEFL score was so low.
wow.
Just automatic cutoff.
Cut off. Wow. I can't imagine that. It seems unfair, but well, you have to just follow the requirements. That's the criteria. So
Well, it does seem unfair, excepting they have because so many students are supported by teaching, right?
yeah.
So you have to be able to prove that you can speak English because you're going to be teaching to kids who only speak English, right?
Yeah,
So
true.
it's
True, I agree with that.
that's why they
So
do it.
oh, okay. Thank you so much for that. So I have this question. What happens if like you're a master's student now and then you have like you can pay your maybe first semester fee or your first year fee, and then do you stand a chance to get like assistant position for your second year? Do you
If you're in
know?
if you're in a master's program,
Yeah.
you're in a master's program in the United States already.
Yes. Yes, like let's say you get admission, but you're unable to secure funding, then you actually, most times, most programs are usually like for 2 years. I think the master's degree is usually like 2 years. And then you have your fee for the first year. Let's say you can pay for the first year, but you can't pay the second year. So do you stand a chance when you're already in the system to actually secure funding for the
Well,
last
I
stage,
think
last semester?
I think the answer would be yes,
Okay.
based on how well you do in your first year, right?
Okay.
So, because they've already seen you for a year, they're not going to throw you out, right?
Oh, exactly.
Because they
I
want
thought
you
as
to
much.
finish. They want you
Exactly.
to finish, right?
Oh, that's good.
So I mean, again, it's dependent on how well you do, right?
Okay.
You might not, not even make it through the first year. So
I know. I know. Because graduate study is actually rigorous. Like you have to be ready for it. So
right.
you need be sure that you can make it through the next year to
But you
actually
know,
come.
it really does matter to the institution. They really do want you to finish your degree. They're it's not just that you're not just coming in to, to for fun for them. They want you to finish.
Finish. So they'll try their best for you,
Yes,
I guess.
they will.
Oh, that's good. So are there usually age restrictions for graduate assistantships? Do you know? Because sometimes
No.
it's not some kind of scholarships, like the international scholarships. I know sometimes it's not stated on the application, but the committee, like the scholarship panels, they consider it.
No, age is not
They
an
can
issue.
come at any age. That's fine. Oh, that's
Mhm.
good. Okay. So what's the scholarship? Sorry, you were
We
going to
get
say something.
into trouble. We get into trouble if we say something about age. It's against the law.
I know. I actually know it is. I know it is, but it's possible that the funding panel could actually look. Do you know if they actually consider? You know, it might not be stated, but maybe when they're actually doing the selection, they might consider it. I know this is confidential. I'm just asking.
I know. It's I've not experienced that in all the years that I worked. So
Okay. Okay. So what are the scholarship committees? What are their take on disabilities or body impairment towards
on disabilities, is that what you said?
yeah,
Disabilities?
disabilities, yes.
Again, we're not allowed to discriminate.
Yeah.
So you cannot look at disabilities as an issue when you're doing admissions. You can't do it.
You can do that. Wow. Okay.
You get into big trouble if you do it.
If you do that, wow. I like that because that's very important. Okay. I think, do you have any other thing you want to share? Because those are just my own questions on funding and all before we go ahead to actually look at the questions from the audience, from the participants. So
No,
do you have any other thing you like to?
I think I've covered quite a few things, so I'm okay.
Okay. So I was actually going to add a few questions. I'll ask that, then we'll go to question for the day, questions from the participants. So I just wanted to ask about the grades. You said something that your first point was about the transcripts and the grades.
Mm-hmm.
So by grades, I really want you to clarify that. What kind of grades do they look out for? Because like in Nigeria, we have the first class, the second class upper, the second class lower in West Africa and Africa. So what's it like there?
So what they look for are especially the grades from the last 2 years of your studies, right?
Okay.
Because sometimes you can start school and you cannot do well to begin with because you're leaving home.
That happens a lot.
You know, it happens a lot. So you might not do as well, but if your grades progress and get better and better and better, by the end, they have people who look at transcripts. So, you know, we have a 4-year school programs. Some schools have a 5 years, some people have 3 years, and some people have 3 years plus 2 years of masters, you know, so it's all different, but they have people who look at the transcripts and determine the equivalency. But I think GPA is what they look at, like 3.0 or higher for grades.
For grades.
And especially good grades in your field. So if you are interested in computer science and you get bad grades in all your computer science classes,
I know
you're not going to get admitted. But if you get best grade possible for that, you'll get, it helps.
It helps. Okay. Oh, that's good to know. So what happens if you're able to like put your essays together, like your statement of purpose, you're able to put it well together in terms of your research interest, you're able to communicate well with it, but you don't really have, maybe you have like the average grade, maybe not like the high grades, but you have average grade. What happened when you're in that situation?
It's it's harder to get in with average grades. I think you need good grades.
Okay. Is this for admission or for funding?
Both,
Both.
because admissions and funding, they're like tied together, right?
Yeah, true.
When you do admissions, you always have to think about funding, right?
Funding, true. I agree with that.
They are
Where
tied.
is it?
They are one thread, you know.
Yeah, true. Wow, that's really good to know. Then you said something about getting your transcript on time. You have to be fast with getting your transcript and all. Because during my own, when I was applying to Indiana University during my time, I actually requested, actually sent an email to the admissions committee, tell them I would like to submit an unofficial transcript until I gain admission. So does that still work? Does it work all the time?
It is hard to do that, believe it or not, because
Really?
they really want to see the official transcript. But then they recognize that in some countries you cannot get a transcript
You can.
until you can't. So they
Yeah.
know that that's the case. So then you have to work really hard to get the unofficial transcript.
Transcript. Okay. Maybe that was what happened in my case because I was able to submit the official transcript. It was when I resumed that I brought in the official transcript. I had already resumed before the school sent it, so and it was okay. It was good. Okay.
Sometimes they'll say once we have decided that we'll do an interview with you, if you pass that interview, then they'll say we need the official transcripts.
Transcript. Wow.
So, you know.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Gretchen. I hope we are all gained from this session, especially if you're planning to go to America to school and you require funding. I think this is really great information from Gretchen. Thank you so much. So now I'll just move over to questions from participants. Let's see what they have for you before we end this. So, okay, Moses asked, can you say something little about business school, graduate school? I think you already talked about that. Do you have any?
I can only say it's very, very competitive.
Wow.
At Indiana University. I don't know about other ones, but IU is very competitive. So study hard.
Okay. Okay, then another question again. What are the main things they normally ask in the interview session? What are the questions they usually ask?
You know, they will ask you about some just like normal life questions, like how are you, and you know, just they're trying to have a conversation with you, right?
Yeah.
Because they want to be able to know how well you can converse, right? That's partly it. And then they'll ask you about your interests, and what you want to study, what you have studied, what your goals are, and I think they like to have it when you can ask them questions, you know,
Yes.
so that you can seem interested in them.
In them, okay.
Because, you know, find out who's
tip.
going
I
to
love
be
that.
find out who's interviewing you, and then you can kind of look at their research and what they're studying and what they do. It helps. You know, people like to know that they are cared about.
Wow, so great.
I think that's important.
I like that. So Moses, well, we have like a workshop coming up on essays and interview. If you're really interested to know more about interviews and essays, we have that coming up in 2 weeks time, so you can register for that. Okay, and this workshop will be more of students that have gone through the process, so of course they can remember they were on the hot seat. They can tell you what their reactions were and all that. So if you want to know more about that, you can register for the workshop. So it's on our social media pages. You can do that. Okay, then someone asks, is permanent residence granted to international students after studies? Do you know
How
that?
many, say that question again?
It's like green card for America. I think I can answer that. I don't think so. Like
I'll let you answer that.
yeah, because I know in America when you finish studying, you have to like get a work visa, if at all. You can't just jump from being a student to getting a green card. So you will probably have to secure a job first, get a work visa before you, over time you get your green card. Well, that's my answer. So maybe you want to answer that as well.
I agree with you 100%. Not
Okay.
automatic.
Yeah. So okay. I hope you add that. Then, okay, is permanent residence granted to international with the same thing?
Same thing. Permanent residency is it takes time. It's not automatic. You know, people ask that even about from coming from state to state. You know, I come from California. Can I become an Indiana resident? No, you can't.
You can.
know, so
Wow.
you are the resident. If you come in as something, that's how you're going to stay.
Hey, wow. So you're done with your study. I think
Right.
America has a kind of difference. If you really want that kind of option, then you have to look at Canada. I think Canada does that, where your years as a student counts towards your permanent residence. But I don't think that happens in America.
It does not.
Yeah.
So I wish it did.
Yeah, I wish so too. You have to actually stay in the system for years before you can finally get your permanent residence.
We make it very hard, and I think we're making it harder. And without saying too much, we're making it harder, and it's not making me happy.
Wow. I can only imagine how you feel, Gretchen. Okay, then this other question from Emina: does grades play a critical role in getting funding? I think you already spoke on that. Yeah. So. Yes. Okay, this person said, is there any university in USA that offer full PhD scholarship without TOEFL and without GRE? I think
Indiana University pays full scholarship without GRE in the sciences. Full 5 years of study without GRE.
Okay, so Sadam Adebayo asked that question, so I think she answered it already. You can get full PhD scholarship without TOEFL and GRE. Actually, coming from Nigeria, you can most likely get a waiver to the interview session. There's gonna be actually planned for you. Okay, this is from Emina. Do you have urban planning in your school? Do you have urban planning program?
Planning. I saw that question pop up. Is that for like environmental planning or business
environmental
planning? Environmental studies?
Yeah, environmental studies.
We have a pretty strong environmental studies program at the university here. And they do have, I think, in that program some masters, but I don't know how many international students they admit. Again, it's because they have to teach, and so it's harder for international students to teach.
Okay. So she said, how competitive is admission in planning school? In the urban planning, that's environmental. Do you know about the admission there?
I think the better grades that you have for environment, we call it environmental studies.
Okay.
I think it's called School of Public and Environmental Affairs is the program. And they have both master's and PhD. It's it's just competitive. It's a competitive program.
Wow.
I think again, better grades.
I think most programs are competitive. That's
right.
just the reality.
That's the reality, right? No, there are some schools who have lower standards, but IU is pretty high. It's pretty high.
Wow. Okay, that's great. Thank you. So, okay, someone is asking for examples of schools for PhD without GRE and TOEFL. Well, Sadam, you can send me a message on the scholarship quiz at gmail.com. I can send you a list of some schools. I think I have a list of some schools that are waiving GRE in America and TOEFL as well. So you can send me an email, the scholarship quiz. Okay, let me just type it here. The scholarship quiz at gmail.com. So I can actually send you the list, and then you may actually, I want to check with the schools. Like she said, it's best to check with the schools before you go ahead to do that, to apply.
Yeah, one thing I can recommend too is that, a lot of times students will contact professors directly.
Okay.
And I don't recommend that because professors are not they're not part of the admissions. So always communicate with the person who's processing your application. I can't tell you how many students I became familiar with while they were doing the application process. They would contact me and they would say, did you get my application? Did you get my transcripts? Did you, and because professors cannot admit somebody.
Yes, I think for
don't.
admission, I agree with that. But I think for funding, you have to contact professors. I think so.
No, well, for
For
funding, you
graduate
can
assistantship, research assistantship.
no, they don't have anything to do with it either because there's a committee, right? There's
Okay.
admissions committees that determine, and they know how many teaching assistantships there are, and they know how much money is there. So the admissions committee is the most powerful. So you can say, well, I want to work with Professor so-and-so. You can contact them to find out what kind of funding they have and things like that, but they don't have any power in hiring you.
Oh, really?
Yes.
As a graduate assistant, I used to think they do have power because, like you said, they have the grants. So, and they want to choose the kind of students to work with.
They do, but first you have to get past the admissions committee, right?
Of course, I agree with that.
The admissions committee is at the front door, and then you can talk to the professor.
The professor,
right?
okay, yes. Of course, admission committee comes first. And I agree with you. I don't actually advise anyone to send the message to professor asking, did you get my documents? No, professor doesn't know. Like, that's totally wrong.
And a lot of times a student would say to me, I've been writing to Mr. So-and-so, and they never reply. And I'm going, well, that's because they're not part of the admissions committee, right? They get hundreds of things every day. So stick with the graduate office and stick with the people who are in charge of the applications.
Okay, definitely. Definitely, I agree with you. So I hope you've heard that from Gretchen. Stick to people in admission committee for your admissions before you go ahead to start reaching out to professors. So don't disturb the professors about your documents, about the requirements for your admission. So for admissions, I think you should just focus on the admission committee rather than
and even not even necessarily. I saw someone asking, how do you get a hold of the admissions committee? It's, universities have like secretaries. They're in charge of all the applications that come in, right?
Yes.
And so that person, I mean, that's what I did for many years. I was the person that your application would come to my door, and I would be the one that would put it on the desk of the admissions committee.
Sure.
And, so it's an office that does those things. And so if you have questions directly to the admissions officers, that person can help you get in touch with them.
Okay. Thank you so much for that information. So I hope you know all that now about admissions. Okay, so someone is asking, I believe getting a PhD funding has to do with getting statement of support from a supervisor in the school. It is very hard for us coming from Africa. How can we go about that? Do you agree with him?
To get a statement of support?
From a supervisor, like now he wants to, let's say he wants to come to Indiana University and it needs PhD funding, does it need to get a statement of support from a supervisor at Indiana? Does it need anything like that?
He's been admitted, and he's been admitted, and he wants to know whether he gets a letter of support, like financial support.
Please, Saddam Adebayo, please, what do you mean by statement of support? What kind of statement? Do you mean financial support, please?
Thank
Hello, are you there? I can't hear you. It's the network is bad. Maybe you should just type it out. Type it out. When I get there, then.
So when I poured an application, and it was a scholarship. I was asked to get statement of support from a supervisor who is willing to accommodate me into his group of research that has a funding. So okay. I pushed through a lot of email to the official email of the particular person in charge of the group. So without any reply, even with a lot of follow-up emails, no reply. So I
I think the network is not so good at his end. But I think hello. We can't hear
that particular scholar. What can be the attention of this? What kind of approach? I mean, what kind of approach do we need to get the attention of those supervisors? So, in terms of getting their statement of support to submit our scholarship, there are some scholarships have some statement of support. They will not.
I think I know what you're saying. Are you saying that you're applying for a scholarship, and they need proof?
Yes.
That somebody will support is going to support you at your school, right?
Okay. Yes.
Yes, is that what you're asking?
Yes, I was.
It's very it's very hard. We used to get, when I worked, we would have people say, I have a scholarship from my country, and I need a letter. I need a letter showing that you're going to accept me. And yes, I need a letter showing that you're going to be in my lab and that you'll be supported. Our university never, ever, ever, ever sent that kind of letter.
Okay.
And it was because a professor can never admit a student. They're not allowed to admit students. It's always the committee that admits them.
Okay, so I hope you are clear about that now, Saddam.
Yes, I'm clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So let's move on to the other question. Okay, someone said I'm interested in it. Okay, I'll send that. How do we contact one member of the committee? So Gretchen, do you think it's possible to contact
I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it.
Okay.
I think the best thing is to trust your application and the strength of your application, and you contacting the admissions committee I don't think is helpful.
Okay. I think she said this over and over again, so I think you just need to actually take it seriously. Do not contact a member of the committee. She doesn't recommend it, so.
I don't think it does. I think the strength of your application, is what matters. And if you've been invited for an interview, once you've been invited to do an interview, then that opens the door, right?
True. Okay, someone is asking, so who do you advise we speak to when seeking for admission? And how do we contact them?
I recommend that you talk to the person, if you have questions about your application, the graduate advisor, the person who sits in the graduate office, you know, who is actually the person who makes sure your application goes someplace, right?
Yeah.
That would be what I used to do, right?
Oh, okay.
Because all the applications would come to my door. And then I would say, oh, here they all are. I present them. So if you have questions about whether your application is complete or whether it's, you know, what the status of it is, that office, the graduate advisor's office, is generally the best place to go.
To go. Okay.
Because
can you hear
admissions committees change every year too, so it's never the same.
Same, definitely. So did you get that? She said, if you have any question about your admission, about your application at any time, reach out to the graduate advisor. So you probably have to go through the website and then look out for the email address of the graduate advisor of that.
The graduate office, look up graduate office.
The graduate office, okay?
Yep.
Then you look for your department, then you reach out to the graduate advisor there. So I think that way you'll be able to get details of about your admission application.
Because they are a lot, they're busy, but professors are a lot more busy, right? And they don't even know that you've applied, right?
True. Okay, so is there any other question? We've spent almost an hour doing this, so is there any other question?
I don't know if I can be permitted to ask this question, although I met this interactive session on the way. Okay. I missed a little bit of like 20 to 25 minutes. So my question is, after the application of the scholarship, what next? And apart from transcript, the BSc or MSc certificate, what are the other necessary things to have in place before applying for scholarship? Like, is there any emphasis on publications for a PhD scholarship per se? Is there any emphasis on publication, conference paper? Like, how many do we need to be able to compete? Like, something like that.
If you have, you missed the first part, the statement of purpose.
Statement of purpose, yes. I was going to say that.
Make sure you have that. Make sure you have letters of recommendation from professors that you worked with.
Okay.
Those you have to have. And I wanted to clarify one thing. If you've already published a paper or you've done some research already, you can also submit that kind of thing. But I wanted to say something. So if you have, you've been thinking about wanting to study something, say about microbiology, and you are familiar with the professor already, right? Like if you already know somebody, then you can communicate all you want, right? But if you don't know them, that's when I don't recommend it too much.
So do you understand that?
Does that make sense? Because I don't want to say, like I might have studied Dr. Smith, and I see that he does great studies with the issue of disabilities. And I can say, man, I've been really interested in that. Then you can establish that kind of thing, right?
Okay.
But they're not allowed to admit students. They don't have anything to do with the admissions process.
Okay.
So I hope you are clear with that, Saddam.
Okay, I'm clear with that.
Yeah, so what she's majorly saying is that your statement of purpose is very key when it comes to this application. She already said that at the beginning, where she talked about getting your transcript and your grades. So you make sure that you have good grades, and then make sure you have strong statement of purpose. Then letter of recommendation. Then I would add your curriculum, but that's your CV. Make sure you have your CV. So you have publications and all that. Yes, put it in your CV. Do you understand?
CV,
so you can.
I forgot that.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of documents. So just make sure you include your CV.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna say something.
My last question is, I don't know. I want to apologize if you can send me the recording of this interactive section, because
Okay.
I
Yeah.
saw that most things have been discussed which are missing. Then
Okay.
my last
Yeah. For
question
everyone
is,
here today, I'll make sure I send it. I'll
okay,
hopefully before the end of next week, I'll try and send it over to you.
okay, thank
Yeah,
you
to
very
your
much.
email.
My
I hope you registered. If you registered, I'll have your email. If not, maybe you should drop your email so that I
Okay,
can.
I've sent you an email just now in the
Okay.
email you put
Okay.
in the
Okay.
chat.
That's good. Okay. That's
So
fine.
my last question is, I think there is a little bit of emphasis on the statement of support. Is there any on the statement of purpose or
Yes.
motivation letter?
Yeah.
Has there been any clarification previously that I missed on how to write it?
Oh, well, we have a workshop. I told someone to the asked of that. We have a workshop coming up on all scholarship essay writing, that's research proposal, motivation letter, statement of purpose, letter of intent, and I think essays on specific topics. You know, some scholarships actually require you to write essays on specific, they'll give you a topic and then you write an essay on it. So we have that coming up on the 9th of October, and it's ending. It's a 3-day live class. So you may want to register for that. So I'll send you the link for that. It's a paid event though, it's a paid workshop because we have other scholars, Commonwealth, 2 PhD researchers from America, myself, and then another person that got a DAT scholarship from South Africa. So we're actually going to be doing live review of these essays. So you can actually register for that. So it's in 2 weeks time, 2 Saturdays from now. So I think, and then we're going to be talking about interviews as well. What are the kind of questions to expect? And it's going to be like an interview live role play. You can even be the one chosen for the role play. So just to get people ready, you know, because this is like the season for applications and for funding and then for admission. And for America, like she says, statement of purpose is very key. So you need to actually understand how to write it and make it strong, because it's quite competitive out there. So especially for funding, it's very competitive. So I advise that you register for that. So if you're in this class and you know that you need help with essays and you want to get your essay really strong, write winning essays, I would advise that you register for that workshop. Okay, I can even put the link here for everybody to see. Yes, I'll just put the link here so you can check it out. Yes, so I've done that. So just check it out and hopefully you register and we'll see you in our class, because she can really say a lot about this. I think she said some things, yes, about what the essay could look like, and I'll try and send the recording of this to you, to your email before the end of next week. But in case you want a comprehensive essay class, this is for 3 days, 2 days for essays and 1 day for interview. Then I'll advise that you join our workshop coming up in 2 weeks' time. But the registration closes next week, Saturday. So I would advise that you decide on time to join us.
All
So
right.
is there any other question for Gretchen before we end this session?
Thank you very much. That will be
You're
helpful.
welcome, Saddam. Thank you so much. Thank you for participating. Any other question? Is there another thing you would like to say, Gretchen?
No, I wish everybody good luck, and it was a pleasure to talk to you guys.
Thank you so much, Gretchen. And about the workshop again, because after the workshop, you have access. We're going to review your essays for you, one of your essays for you at no cost. So if you join the workshop and you're part of the workshop, and there's like a free essay review for you. So if you have a motivation letter you need to submit after the workshop for any scholarship, then we can actually review it for you for free. And then for interview, if you have an interview before then, we can prepare you for the interview session for free as well. So check that. It's 10,000 naira. It's not like it's a lot of money. It's 10,000 naira. So just check it out.
I wanted to add one thing about the interview. The goal is to get the interview, right? Exactly. And once you get the interview, you should know that very few people get interviewed.
I know. So, I say that.
When you should feel good when you get the interview.
The interview is usually like the last phase for them to make their decision. So you've already passed other stages. So you're at the interview stage. It's just for you to get it right, and that's it. You get the funding. So essay is key, interview is key. Those two are like
Yep.
your pass keys to getting up. Apart from grades, yeah, grades too are great key when it comes to when it comes to scholarship, looking for funding or scholarship. Like she said, though there are other scholarships that do not actually base their do not base your eligibility on grades. Like I think the Chevney scholarship, that's for master's degree and all that. They look at other things like your skills and all that. So that's a topic for another day. Maybe we'll have another session on scholarships in terms of grades and skills and all those other things required. But for the US, especially for the graduate assistantship, she's saying your grades are actually very important when it comes.
They are important. Yeah.
Go to your transcript, and I agree with her because I think during my interview session, then for my own during my own application, during the interview session, they actually asked me a question about my undergraduate grade. I think my first year in undergraduate degree, and I was going for a PhD. I was like, what? I already have a master's degree and you're asking me about my grade in my first year of undergraduate study. So I had to, of course, like I was away from home, gave all those questions, all those answers and all that. So you need to just join us in this workshop on essay writing and interview. You need to join us. It's going to be like superb. These are people. Maureen will be there. And I got to meet Maureen through Gretchen, and Maureen too. Maureen actually got like a PhD offer with full funding after a BS degree in Nigeria. She didn't do a master's degree, and she got into a PhD program. So how did all that happen, you know? And maybe you want to ask Gretchen too. Gretchen, do you know how that happened? Maureen didn't have a master's degree.
I think the majority of our students come to our program with bachelor's degree only, not a master's.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I was shocked when she graduated from Lagos State University in Nigeria and got into a PhD program in Indiana with full funding. So she's one of the participants. So you may actually want to, I would advise that you just sign up for the workshop, and then we're going to put you through everything on essay writing, and then all the bonuses, CV optimization. If you need help with your CVs, you're going to get it for free. Your workshop, your essay writing, and your interview preparation session, whatever it is, I think we'll help you with that. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gretchen.
Okay.
I really appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Bye.
Thank you, Bolane.
You're welcome. Bolale just left. Oops.